Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I am here today to finish off talking about the Jaws films. I have talked about each and every one of the Jaws movies, and today it is time for the fourth and final film, Jaws: The Revenge. Oh my goodness gracious. And just for a little background, I did notice recently-ish on Netflix that the Jaws movies were going to be going off Netflix. Sometimes in the bottom corner it says available until, and the Jaws films were coming off. This is Netflix Canada. And so I decided to do a week of Jaws watching and rewatched all of the films, some of which I have seen a fair amount of times and some I had not seen for a long time, as was the case with Jaws: The Revenge. So let's take a look at the details. So this was released in 1987, so we're now another 5 years since Jaws 3 and 12 years from the original Jaws. This was directed by Joseph Sargent, who did Nightmares from 1983, which I'm not sure if I've seen. The poster is certainly creepy. And he also did MacArthur from 1977. The cast is mostly different, but not totally different. We have Lance Guest as the protagonist, arguably. He plays Michael, he's from The Last Starfighter. That's what I know him from. It took me. I try not to interrupt my watching by checking IMDb. I try so hard, but it was bugging me and I couldn't place him. So that's what I know him from, is the lead in The Last Starfighter. It also stars Karen Young, Mario Van Peebles. I totally forgot Mario Van Peebles is in this. Lorraine Gary reprises her role as can't remember her first name, Brody. She plays Michael's mother, and she's from the original 2 films. And we have none other than Michael Caine. Michael Caine is in this. My goodness gracious. So I would classify this as a horror film or an action movie. I don't think I would put it as a thriller or as a drama, as some of the other ones have been. And unfortunately, this one I rated only a 5 out of 10 or a 2 out of 5, and it does not get a heart. This one did not get a heart. So sad to say, did not end on a high note here. This was not the most enjoyable viewing experience. Jaws for the Revenge. So this one had, I would say, this one took a lot of risks. I will give it that. It was initially set during Christmas time at Amity, and so, you know, on an island at Christmas, we have Sean, who is the younger brother in the family, is the sheriff there. Before I go further, there will be spoilers ahead for Jaws for the Revenge. Yeah, so it's initially set in Amity. I want to add more letters to that word. And then we end up, I think, in the Bahamas. Might be Barbados. So, but initially we start there with Sean. It's Christmas time. He's with his family. He's the new sheriff in this, you know, he followed in his father's footsteps to be, sheriff of Amity. And yeah, and then it goes very, very wrong very, very fast. Initially I was thinking, okay, this is okay. Oh, and I forgot to say, the tagline here is, "This time it's personal," which was the other risk that they took, which I'm not sure it panned out. So where do you even begin? I don't, like, yeah, okay, so very quickly I was like, oh gosh, what did I get myself into? Because there is not a boating accident involving Sean. So Sean gets attacked by a shark, you know, Christmas time on the water, and that scene was, I normally don't say this kind of thing, but that scene was really bad. It was like the effects were bad, the acting was bad, the blood was everywhere. You could totally tell he just was like, had his arm in his shirt, and then there was like a rain jacket and just like blood I was like, what's going on? Like, it wasn't realistic. And I thought, I like B movies, so I thought it might be going that route. Didn't really go that route. It still took quite a serious tone to it. So anyway, Sean does not make it, and then I can't even totally remember the plot of this movie. But then it ends up that Lorraine Gary's character ends up with Michael in the Bahamas, and he is doing like scientific research with Mario Van Peebles, with sea life and stuff like that. It's not super glamorous, but you know, everything else about their life there actually quite seems to be like they, you know, it's a very fun spirited, you know, like they have a great, like they do a lot of social events. It's all around the holidays, so there's all these like social events and stuff like that. And they have a daughter. Michael has a daughter, and yeah, so his mom comes out there post grieving, you know, and to stay for a while, but then it's personal. So the weird thing about this one is that I don't understand what they were doing with the plot. So there continues to be a shark attacks or shark activity now where they are, where Michael is, even though, like, how far would you have to would that shark have to travel? It goes from cold water to hot water. Everyone's like, none of this makes any sense. You know, sharks are never in this water, but of course it's Jaws movie, so of course they are. And then, but then there's this weird element that Lorraine Gary's character can like psychically know what the shark is doing or when it will attack. Like she gets these sort of like visions of it happening. Nobody believes her because it's a disaster movie scenario, so nobody believes her. But it's true, but it's like, why? And then it's like, is it the same? The part that I don't understand is the whole revenge thing, because is it the same shark that went after Sean decides to go after Michael and his family? But like, why? And there could be an answer to that. But then there's also this weird indication that it's like the original shark or the shark from Jaws 2, which, if you've seen those movies, it ain't possible. So that's the part that I fault it on, is that the logic doesn't make sense. There also is a fair amount of time spent with Michael being very protective of his mom and not happy that Michael Caine is showing an interest in his mom, who has been widowed for many years. So that was a bit weird. That is also, you know, a bit dated, because it was in the 80s, and so the people's perspectives on things I think has changed a little bit since then. But he was really like, you know, why is he talking to his mom, and like, you know, why is he talking to my mom? It's like, you know, there was no indication that, like, I can't remember how long ago her husband had passed away, but it wasn't super recently. Like, it wasn't within the past couple months or even years. So it's kind of like, you know, Michael Caine's being like, maybe he was a cat and maybe Michael knew this, so maybe there was that, but it was just, you know, he was a pilot, so that's sort of the he flies them there, and he, you know, and then they have a plane, they're a water plane type thing, so there's water plane stuff, and there is some action in this one, but I felt like for me the story didn't make sense. And with some of the other films, like with 2 I didn't enjoy the story, with 3 I didn't care about the story, although the story I thought was pretty good. With this one I feel like the story just didn't make sense, and then the everything else about it was not as engaging. The effects weren't good. I feel like there are different periods and times that I enjoy, or it more or less what the effects are, and I do feel like not so much the late 80s, but like some of the 90s, I'm just not as much of a fan of the effects. This was before that, and the effects in the original, all the other films are good. So I don't know if it was just like a change in technology. I think I'm being a little like overly giving them an out or something, but generally I just thought it wasn't done well. I didn't enjoy it. I did like Michael Caine though, and I did like Lorraine Gray in this. It was really cool to see that she was like quite proactive, and again, and it sort of comes down to like her and the shark, and there is something cool about that, but I got the whole like nobody believes her thing, which makes it less cool. So overall, it was not a great place to end this, you know, watch, but it is the last movie in the Jaws series, so you can't anywhere to go from there. Of course, there are other shark movies out there that I do enjoy. I am a big fan of Deep Blue Sea, and then of course more recently The Meg came out, and it was so much fun. I read the book in anticipation for that film, which you certainly don't need to do, but Meg was really, really great. And then there's a lot of B B movie, you know, shark B movies. There's one called House Shark that I want to watch. House Shark? How is that even possible? I have seen a lot of them, but if you have favorite shark movies, good or bad, I like good shark movies as much as I like a fun bad shark movie. I would love to hear any recommendations. Of course, I've already given some of mine, Deep Blue Sea and The Meg. I know those are some of the bigger ones. And other ones I would have to look at my list. I do have a shark films list on Letterboxd. I'll leave a link to that down below if you want to check it out. So yeah, so sadly we ended on my least favorite film. Oddly, I think I still enjoyed this one more than Jaws 2, because Jaws 2 was pretty just, it was just pretty boring. This one, I enjoyed Mario Van Peebles, I enjoyed Michael Caine, but I didn't enjoy the story or the effects. So there were some things to it, but it was definitely, although I rated it lower than Jaws 2, I did enjoy it more. Maybe it needs a half heart. They should have half hearts on Letterboxd. I will also leave my Letterboxd down below if you want to become friends there and we can chat movies. And yeah, so there the Jaws series comes to a close. Very quick rundown in terms of enjoyment level. Number one, without question, is Jaws. Shockingly, Jaws 3D comes next. Then Jaws the Revenge. And last but not least rated was Jaws 2. I never would have thought that that's how it would have shook down, but it is. That's how it shook down. So there you go. Let me know how if you like shark movies, and I'd love any shark movie recommendations. Have you rewatched this series recently? Would you? Would you? I'm gonna give it many years before I do, and I might just watch 1 and 3. Thank you so much for watching and for going on this adventure with me. It was a lot of fun.